All right, what's up? What's up? What is going on? All right, this time I want to go over some ideas about alternate vocations that might be in Dragon's Dogma 2 or even just ones we want to see in Dragon's Dogma 1. So, here over on r/Dragon's Dogma, the Reddit, you see that somebody, let's find out what his name is. User Arcantescu uh, posted this photograph. It's got all the stuff we remember, as well as um, some ideas for a monk class. So let's see what they were coming up with. You had the fighter with the sword and shield. We're used to that already. Warrior. They added a battle axe to this, so that's interesting. Vanguard. Okay, so this is going to be our first new class that this guy came up with. It has a throwing spear, a halberd, and a buckler. Looks kind of cool. I don't know how the buckler really differs from the spear from the regular shield too much. Maybe it's more of a parry machine than a it worked kind of like a Dark Souls, right? Where it's better for parries than for blocks. Like maybe you can't perfect block, but you can get a parry animation going. The throwing spear, okay, so you got some range going. It's supposed to only be like 25% of your overall uh, stuff, and then last is going to be melee with your halberd. It looks like that actually looks like it's a very balanced class. Especially having it's effectively a red class, even though it looks like it's supposed to be a red yellow class, maybe a red and what's the other thing that was called? Maybe a monk style class as well. Assassin, sword, dags, and short bow. Okay. That's what we're already used to. The only thing that's missing is the shield. I don't like that. Hmm. So this looks like it's holistic, right? You could put a throwing spear on one button, a halberd on another button, and the buckler on a third button, and you could be good. This looks like how would you use your sword, your daggers, and your short bow all at the same time? You'd be still switching. If they gave us a quick swap, by the way, that's a great idea. Assassin type classes where you quick swap, or even honestly all classes, just give us a quick swap button for if we have more than one weapon, or even if we don't have more than one weapon. But especially for assassin type classes, that would have made the assassins so much better. Being able to quick swap between bow and shield, being able to quick swap between sword and daggers, that would have been so good. Especially in the middle of combat where you can't change equipment. Having that as a special ability would have made it feel more than just, oh, it's a strider but not as good, and it's a fighter but not as good, both at the same time. All right, strider, here we have daggers and short bow, same thing it was before. Rangers, we got rid of the daggers, which does make sense. We replaced them with traps, so I'm guessing the traps are going to. I like this idea. Getting rid of the daggers for Ranger, throwing on some traps. I like that a lot. Magic Archer, so we have buffing, healing spells, offensive spells, and ranged damage. I don't know if that ranged damage is supposed to be ranged physical damage, in which case that is not what a Magic Archer does, so I'm not liking it. If I would reorder this, I would say offensive spells, which would mean your bow spells, your spell bows spells, would be 50%, and then maybe we could get some physical range damage at like a 25% clip, then buff and healing. Magical Balancer is very key, so go ahead and throw it on. Oh yeah, and also Immolation, so go ahead and throw down to 25%. That makes sense. But yeah, I basically be swapping blue and yellow here to make that make more sense. All right, Druid, Axis, Sling. I don't hate it. Buffing, healing, melee, range. It looks like a very. So the one thing I do like is it looks like this is a magically inclined class a little bit, even if it's just with buffs and heals. Especially if those buffs give you the ability to kill ghosts, like their affinities and stuff like that. I don't hate it. So Axis, Sling, sure, why not? Mage, Short Staff, defensive spells, buffs, heals, offensive spells. That's about how it is in already in Dragon's Dogma 1. Don't hate it. Sorcerer, again, that's about what it is. Probably more close to 80% offensive, but you do get a Void Spell. Is that pretty much the only one you get that's any type of defensive? From the top of my head, I think Void Spell is the only sorcerer spell you get that's any type of defensive or healing or anything. So yeah, it's probably closer to like 15%. Um, Mystic Knight, sword, mace, flail, magic shield. I'm guessing the flail would be a slightly more ranged version of the mace. Um, they got rid of. So here's the thing: it says offensive spells, and then it also says shield. But you use your offensive spells through your shield or through a staff, and I don't have a staff listed here. So is the flail supposed to be or is the mace slash flail supposed to be a magic conduit? And then of course, if you have three different options for physical damage, you'd need a quick swap. I would be looking for that. Spirit Lancer, Magic Spear, Magic Halberd, Twin Blades. So basically, DPS, all damage, no healing. Well, all damage, no blocking. Okay. Monk, buff and healing on one hand, melee on the other hand. So this is what I stress the most. Whatever we're going to do, I want this class to be whatever the fourth class. If we did add a fourth class, I would want that fourth class to be a magic class, a class that does magic damage. And the reason is because if you look at the way Dragon's Dogma 1 is set up, you already have two melee classes where it's only physical damage and one magic class. And what that ends up having is you have 7 classes that can deal good physical damage and 4, right? 4 that can deal magic damage. So it's just this huge imbalance where you have so many classes that really are absolutely useless against phantoms. It just feels weird and wrong. And if you add a third class or a third physical class, then it's like 3-1, and it turns into like something stupid like 14 to, I think it would be like 14 to 6 or something like that as to how many classes get physical damage versus magic damage. That's what I would be very adverse to. All right, Priest. Defensive spells. So I'm guessing this is supposed to be the upgraded version of Monk. Defensive spells and buff heal spells. So I'm assuming these buffs and heals will make you stronger and you're just going to use your fists. So magic gauntlets are your fist weapons. And then over here you have a tome or a sensor. I'm not sure what the difference between those is going to be. I'm sure he'll explain in the comments probably. Alchemist is supposed to be a mix of, I guess, Strider and Monk here. It looks like you're going to have bombs, potions, and poisons. Oh, okay. If you guys played Dragon Age Inquisition, you got to play with Alchemist. That was actually, or was it Artificer? Artificer. You got to play with the bombs. I really like that build with Varric. So I think that's how you said his name, Varric. So that'd be actually pretty cool. Necromancer. Looks like it's a mix between our monk and a mage. Necrostaff, Necrotome. I don't hate Necromancer. It's actually part of my ideas for how to create a fourth class. So seeing it, other people come with the same thing is pretty normal. It's a common D&D class as well, I think. So offensive, defensive heal buffs. Apparently, it's the only perfectly balanced. Wait, is it the same exact balance as mage, according to this? Offensive, defensive heal buffs. Yeah. Well, but it's with necromancy, so yeah. And that would be the last one for this. Let's see what the people had to say about it. I do like these ideas. Like if this was honestly real, I wouldn't be upset. Yeah, great to see the speculation. Necropon, kill for monk vocation, love punching stuff. Hard agree there. Seneschal watching the risen beat Grigori to death with bare hands. They need to put bear claws on this as an optional, either a skin or a actual pair of gauntlets. I think I've lost my will to fight when I get here. Bare hands or bill hands, because I can see both happening. He made the same joke I did. Alchemist in Dragon's Dogma Online punches stuff is a tank class though. Oh, didn't know that. See, I'm learning things. I didn't play Dragon's Dogma Online like most people in the States, so yeah. I don't know what Dragon's Dogma Online was like. A lot of people are feeling Necromancer. I'm also feeling Necromancer. So I'm actually going to go ahead and swap to this. So this is my combat guide. It goes really deep into depths about stuff in Dragon's Dogma. The only thing I am missing right now, and I still need to get back to doing this, even though Dragon's Dogma 2 is coming out, I did go into like all these different skills and ranking them based on how good they are. I think what I'm missing is like, what am I missing? I'm missing longbow skills, and I think I'm missing some other stuff. Magic bow, longbow. I just felt like I didn't need to go over them because they're already so gone over. But for the most part, I have all the more complicated classes down, the ones that you're not as used to. But what I actually wanted to show you is down here. At least I think it's down here. New vocations. My ideas, per se. All right, so here's the same thing, but it was done 3 years ago. And he left it as a fill in the blanks. So the white vocation is the one that's out of the block, right? So again, this is why I want to see a magic vocation, because between these three low vocations, warrior, oh well, we'll just do that. Sorcerer, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then 5. So that's 5 potential magics, right? Let's say this one's physical. So that'd be 5 vocations that are magical, and then let's see, 1, 2. Magic Archer doesn't do physical. Well, actually, it does with immolation. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So 5 to 12 out of 16 vocations, 5 can do magic. 16 vocations, 5 do magic damage, 12 do physical damage. That's why I do not want to see a 4th vocation that's pure physical. I would love for this to be a magical vocation, because then we get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. All right, so that's 9 magical damage, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, and it's should also be 9. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Right. Yeah, so 9 and 9. That would be perfectly balanced on some Thanos stuff, right? All right, so, and I wrote down here that I would want to do a tamer. And the tamer would use a magic whip, so like a whip type implement, but it's made of magic, for weak mid-range blows, and can tame up from 3 to 5 with augments. So you start at 3 as your base, and then you get up to 5 with augments. Small to medium-sized beast enemies. So the size of those will depend on your magic stat. It would top out at like a Gore Chimera or Eliminator, depending on if you have augments. They can buff and heal their creatures and influence the way their creatures attack. So when I say it tops out of Gore Chimera, I don't mean that you could just start the game and start like taming Chimera type enemies. I'm saying if you have enough magic stat, which would be like in-game level 200 type stuff, you could take a Chimera, but you'd probably be grabbing like wolves and stuff to start the game, like very low level stuff. They can buff and heal their creatures and influence the way their creatures attack with command skills, but don't have direct control over their moveset. They don't wear armors made from beast or fur or hide components. Okay. Advanced White, Beatmaster. So I didn't really know what to do with the weapon here, so I went with like magic blood crystals for powerful short-range AoE attacks. They cost the user's health to replenish. They can only tame 1 champion, so that's like a super creature, but with high enough magic it can beat any non-sentient being, and with an augment that can include lesser, dire, and cursed dragons, right? So this was like this wasn't really an idea for Dragon's Dogma 2, this is more an idea of Dragon's Dogma 1, like how to make Dragon's Dogma 1 better. But they can still implement this for Dragon's Dogma 2 if they wanted to. We're kind of late. I would imagine we're too late into the development cycle to make major changes like this. But it would be kind of cool if they had a 4th a fourth basic vocation that allowed us to go, to go this route or go something similar, right? Um, they can buff, give elements to, and heal their champions. So if you have your champion creature, you can make it better, heal it, and can warg into them to assume direct control, which the Tamer was not able to do. The Beastmaster can take direct control, allowing free usage of the champion's moveset at the cost of stamina. All right, hybrid red and white, white being the fighter class, would allow you to go with a rider vocation. Riders use a combination of the magic whip that came from Tamer as well as long swords, but they don't get warhammers. The reason I said long sword is because for a rider, I'm thinking like a lance, and a lot of the long swords are nicknamed lances. So type of a lance type weapon, and I'm seeing that Dragon's Dogma 2 actually has proper spears, so even that would be way better than just long swords. They're only able to tame a quadrupedal mount that types out at a Garm with just magic, or even Dire Dragonkin with an augment, but they can freely ride this mount around and fly if the mount is able to. So you could say a griffin, a cockatrice, you could fly that around, that type of stuff. That'd be kind of cool. In the combat, they use a combination of heavy longsword jousting skills, or since we have spears in Dragon's Dogma 2, that'd be cool too, if they have heavier lances. Their mounts attacks and weak but range whip attacks when necessary. So if you're not on your mount, it's probably going to be better off. Your mount skills are going to be the heavier longswords, but if you don't have a mount, you're probably going to be relegated to the whip attacks, just because it's a big heavy lance. You probably shouldn't be able to use it off your mount. All right, hybrid white and yellow dragoon. Dragoons are okay. So by the way, yellow is the color of the Strider vocations. Even though they're green here, in the real game they're yellow, right? So dragoon, using the heavy javelin both as a taming and pseudo ranged attack option. With it, they can jump long distances and by using a grappling hook skill, lancing Daimon's chest or flying Drake's weak point from the ground, then pulling themselves to that point, deal immense mounted elemental damage. So the idea is like, it's kind of like immolation, but you don't have to set yourself on fire and do it. And also you're dragging yourself to the enemy, attaching to them, and then just shocking the crap out of them, or burning them, or freezing them, whatever you want to do, using dark damage, whatever type of ability you got. That's your grappling hook skill. And also you can tame single wolves as support pets that maxes out at a hellhound or a Garm with an augment. However, this vocation cannot buff or heal their pets, so their pets stay far away from enemies instead of fighting, and instead they wait for an enemy to fall and pin it to lengthen that animation and do minor damage. So basically, you have a pet, but your pet doesn't really do the fighting for you, like with the other tamer hybrids or the tamer itself. Instead, the pet is there to just basically be a, how duck hunters have those dogs that go get yeah, just like that. The dogs do very very bare minimum like quality of life stuff for you, but they don't help you win battles really. They have a small inventory for curatives and will use them on the arisen. So if you're poisoned, blinded, whatever, they will help you out with that. Lastly, they'll awaken a sleeping risen. So if you've been put to sleep, they'll wake you up. I know I just said that, but rephrased it. Free them from Maneater and Bark, like a CNI dog, to lead a blind arisen away from enemies to safety. If a pet is somehow killed, it's just placed in a down state like a pawn. So unlike the other animals that we've been talking about, these particular animals are not killable by the enemies. They are just, well, unless it's the Diamond Rift or death or something like that. But for the most part, enemies, you can go get your pet dog back. You know what I'm saying? And what does this tap out? And this tops out at a Garm, really. So that'd be actually pretty dope. They'll swim to escape the brine as well. So these guys are actually immune to Brian, it looks like. I forgot that I wrote that. So I must have said earlier that they didn't get killed by Brian. But yeah, they can't. The last one, white blue necromancer, blue being the flavor of mages and sorcerers. Necromancers utilize magic whips and archstaves as a secondary weapon. Their main approach is being able to tame creatures like the whip. So remember when I was talking on the other dude's post about how everybody likes necromancer? I also like necromancer. Um, their main approach is being able to tame creatures with the whip, much like a tamer, but they lack any capability for buffing or healing anything and can only have 1 to 3 living servants at once. However, unlike all the other white classes, these can be sentient, even human. Uh oh. They have the capacity to raise and enthrall the dead with their staves and take control of many already dead servants outright, having a horde of 2 to 4 dead servants. When raising a dead servant, the original power of the creature that's being raised is factored in and slightly improved, so you don't just get that creature back, you get a different creature that is a ghost. Like, okay, so instead of you raising a dead wolf, you would raise a dead zombie wolf, but that zombie wolf is slightly stronger. If you're raising an eliminator, which is the example I use here, you'd get a living armor, because those two things are about the same, but the living armor is stronger. If it's just a skeleton, then a bandit, then a skeleton is likely. Necromancers must be careful, however. If their magic stamina is too low and the raise fails, the being will be revived, but as a enemy. So now you have that stronger enemy. Let's say you were trying to raise that eliminator, which would take a ton of mana, a ton of stamina to do, right? Or a ton of magic stat as well. It would still work, but that living armor would come back as an op. And because it's an op, you're going to have issues because now you're already drained of all your stamina and you've got to fight this big beast of a boss creature. So those were my ideas. I've read the other ideas before these of what we could use and as a fourth basic vocation. There were some more in this thread if you want to go over them. You got Brawler again. Okay, so more another monk fist type of deal. Another monk right here as well. What are we looking at here? Where else? What else? Spearman. So you're going to see a lot of fists and a lot of monks, and probably some priests as well. Because I think a lot of people, they just want to see a fist weapon and a spear. That's what most people I think want to see. So wouldn't be surprised if we see that. But that's all I have for this episode. So as always, I've been me, you've been you, and if you've made it this far, you've been awesome. Catch you on the next one. If you've liked this video, yeah, consider subscribing. Definitely. Let me get my on my YouTube real quick. Destroy that like button, smash it, annihilate it. Definitely help the channel out. If you help us out with the algorithm, then maybe we can get to that 1,000 subscriber count, start getting some money off of this platform, and then not getting paid to make content, and I'd be pretty happy about that. So yeah, hope you've enjoyed it. Peace.